Hi, welcome to a 3-part series that I've entitled Career Conversations. At the start of 2022, I asked a question: what would you like me to talk about as the year progresses? And I received quite a number of questions that are career related. So I decided to put them into a short series, hopefully, that you'll find useful. Now, there are those of us who are employed or working for someone, and those of us who run our own businesses. This series is primarily targeted at those who work for someone else. So if you're in a career, you're working, you have someone who employs you. For those of you who own businesses, we're going to have a conversation a bit later, but some of the stuff that I'll discuss may be relevant for you anyway, in terms of how you can create an environment that allows your key talent, your key people to develop their careers in the context of your environment, in the context of your organization. So hopefully it will be helpful for you too. The first part is simply getting started. And what you'll notice about this conversation as it unfolds is that I'll actually be asking a lot of questions. So my intention is not to give a prescription on what you need to do, but rather to ask questions that should help, or hopefully help, to broaden your perspectives, give you a bit of food for thought. And in that food for thought, answer some of the questions that you sent to me or that you may have and are yet to ask. So part 1 is getting started. Which career should I pick? Where should I dedicate my time and effort in terms of building my own skill and expertise? It's a very interesting question, a very important one as well. It's one that starts, or should start, a lot earlier than the point when you are searching for employment. All the way from when you're at school, at high school, be it at university, you're having this conversation with yourself. What should I do? What do I want to become? In fact, it's a question that we often get asked all the way from the time that we are children. So what should you be thinking about? Number 1, I believe that we should all play to our strengths. So what are your strengths? What are your interests? Where do you naturally gravitate to? Simple example, are you a numbers person? Are you a person who likes to commit things to memory? How will that support you in your career journey, especially when you come to think about academics? So where do you actually start from? What is your key strengths? What are your interests? What is your calling? It may be that you have a strength in a particular area, but it's not your calling. You may be a good scientist, but if you can't stand the pressure of seeing people who are injured, then perhaps medicine is not your thing. Is it your calling? Is it your passion? The other thing that's key is to be clear about what your long-term aspirations are. As you're setting the foundations of your career, what is your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan, your 20-year plan? Where do you see yourself? Where would you like to end up when you're coming to the end of your journey in employment? That's very important, because that then starts to give you a view of where you'd want to work, what additional qualifications you'd like to gather in the process, and what you need to do today to set you on your path to where you want to be then. The next bit about getting started is to have a thought about your academics. How important are your academics? I've gotten this question quite a bit. And to be honest, it's something that is difficult for some of us because of the circumstances that we found ourselves in. Not all of us may have had the opportunity to go to the best schools, to get the best support, to be able to dedicate our time and effort to achieving academic excellence. But it goes without saying that academic excellence is fundamental in our career journeys. Why is that? It's simply because in this day and age, the competition for jobs, the competition for opportunities is stiff. So the question is, how do you stand out? How do you get noticed? If there are a pile of applications, what do you do so that yours gets a second look? One of the ways to do that is to have a strong academic performance. Now, academic performance is not something that you do in just your final semester. It has to be consistent and it has to be exceptional for you to stand out. Now, there's one or two of you who say to me, but I don't have an outstanding academic record, or I only got serious towards the end of my schooling, and so I missed out on the opportunity of that foundation. I think it's not the end of the world. It then brings us to the next point in how you get started. What life experiences do you have? I often hear the question, how many people do you think this organization will employ? What sort of experience will they be looking for? If I don't have experience, am I disadvantaged? The assumption I'm making is at the start, what is most important is what you studied and what you put on paper. There are organizations that look to employ individuals who haven't worked before. For those of you who have worked and perhaps are looking to change careers, that's a conversation that we'll have later. So, you're starting out. You don't have much experience. Maybe your academics are not that strong. Maybe they are that strong, but you don't have experience anyway. You then ask yourself the question, what life experiences do I have? What qualities do I possess, and how can I demonstrate these qualities to a potential employer so that they start to take an interest in my attitude, perhaps, in my abilities, in my aptitude, in the way that I've demonstrated it over time? Now, someone will say, but hang on, what do you mean life experiences? Well, I'm simply referring to the things that we do in our day-to-day lives. If you're in school going, or if you're at university or college, what is it that you do other than study that we can point at that demonstrates that you possess certain qualities that an employer will be looking for? Are you a problem solver? Are you a leader? Are you someone who takes initiative? Are you someone who is proactive in how you go about doing certain things, solving problems? Are you a team player? Those are things that you can demonstrate through life experiences, even though you've never worked before. And that is what I'm talking about when I say life experiences. Do not downplay them. So a quick recap. You may or may not have a strong academic track record, but you can compensate for that with your life experiences. The other thing to be careful about with life experiences, as with academic track record, is that you have to be deliberate about it. So it's something that you have to be consistent about. You get into university, you're in first year, what's your plan? You've got a plan on the academic side. Do you have a plan for your life experiences? Because you need time to demonstrate that indeed you possess these qualities. You build them up over time. You're able to demonstrate how you've been able to work and grow your qualities and attributes. And that's something that's worth mentioning in your CV and gives you a shot in terms of getting noticed. It gives you something that can be pointed at as a quality that you possess. Remember, we're talking about getting started. The last thing I'd like to say in this journey of getting started is the need for flexibility. A number of us have trained or gotten academic qualifications in a particular area of expertise and are fixated on getting an opportunity or employment in that particular area of expertise. Did you know that there are many opportunities that may not necessarily be aligned to what you studied? I believe that academics are there to give us a foundation. Yes, expertise in a particular area, but also a way of thinking that allows you to solve problems and be constructive and apply initiative. So, if an organization offers an opportunity and it's not necessarily what you studied, you may find that actually it's a gateway for you to get to where you want to go to eventually. So don't be too rigid. Think of academics as a key that opens the door. That may not necessarily be where you end up. This is particularly relevant for those of us who have perhaps had not had much choice in the academic studies that we've pursued. Because of finances, perhaps you could only pursue a certain course, you didn't pursue what your dream was, that sort of thing. Or perhaps as you went along with your academics, you thought, hang on, I think perhaps there's something different that I'd like to pursue. Flexibility. Granted, there are some careers where flexibility is a little less apparent. You can't just, for example, become a doctor if you've never studied it. But there are professions that you can enter into even if that was not your primary area of study. Business, accounting, and a few others. So be flexible as you start on your career journey. So that ends this part around getting started. Hopefully some answers and questions in there for those who are just getting started, who are thinking about it, those who are in the early parts of their career, those who are at college, school. Remember, be very deliberate about whichever career trajectory you choose to pursue. It will pay dividends at some point in the future. Thank you.